going to go over how to build a spreadsheet. So first I need to pull up Microsoft Excel, and I need to make a new workbook page for that. While that's loading, I have pulled up my spreadsheet checklist that I'll be referring to, as well as my data table that I'm going to build my spreadsheet from. So now I have Microsoft Excel open, and I'm going to change the zoom so you can see a little bit better. But the first thing I want to do in Excel is I want to change the page setup so I am to landscape view, so in case things spill over, I'll have room to do that. So I'm going to go to File, Page Setup, and I'm going to click on Landscape, and that's going to make my page wider. So I'm going to do that, and now I have a wider page. And you also notice that I have my toolbox up, and so how I got that is I just clicked on Toolbox, and I also have this toolbar up there. So I'm going to go to View, Toolbars, and make sure formatting is checked, and you'll have this nice toolbar up here. Okay, so we're ready to get started on our spreadsheet. So I'm going to go to my checklist, and the first thing that's on my checklist is the title, the effect of IV on DV. So I'm going to come back to Excel, and I'm going to type the title in, and the effect of paperweight on flight distance. And remember to put units of measure in your title. So once I've done that, I need to merge all these cells together so it's a nice big cell for the sentence. So I'm going to click on all the cells that have text in them. And I'm going to come over here to Alignment and Spacing, and I'm going to click on Merge Cells. And that's going to bring this all into one nice big cell. In case I have a typo, I can just easily click on it and fix it. Okay, the next thing on my checklist is the label present. So I need to label this spreadsheet. So I go back to Excel, and I need to put Figure 1 on this because it will be my first spreadsheet. And then my second item is the IV on the left, the DV on the right. So going back to Excel, my independent variable is paperweight, and my DV is flight distance. But before I do that, I'm going to look at my data table, and I notice that I have multiple values for each IV value. So that tells me that I have multiple trials. So if I count how many data sets I have for light, I have 3. So I know that I have 3 trials. So I'm first going to put my IV on the left, so that's paperweight. And then my DV title is going to go above my trials. So first I'm going to put my trials in, trial 1, trial 2, and trial 3. And then I'm going to put my DV title up here, which is flight distance. And you have to put your unit of measure in this subheading because you're only going to put number values in your spreadsheet. Okay, so now I am ready to put in my values of my IV and my DV. So I'm going to come over here to paperweight and put in my IV values, which are light, medium, and heavy. And then I'm going to go back to my data table, and I'm going to put in these values. So for light, I have 3 values, 4, 5, and 6. And I've already put my meters up here in my title, so I don't need to put them down here. So I'm going to type in my values for each of these trials. And then I'm going to do the same for medium, 7, 8, and 7.5. And for heavy, which are 5.5, 6.7, and 4.8. So I'm going to type those in. And now I have my information in for my trials. Because I have more than one trial, I need to take an average of these because we use those averages when we do graphing, and that's a nice number to look at when you are looking over someone's data to have. So next to trial 3, I'm going to put average. And I need to get the average of each of these IV values. So how I do that is I highlight all the values for light, and I come up here to auto sum, and I click on the arrow and I click on average. And that's going to take the average of all of those numbers for me. So I'm going to do the same thing for medium, click on average, and the same thing for heavy. So now I have the average of all my paperweights. Now I need to make sure they all have the consistent decimal places. Some of them have a lot more, some of them don't have any at all. So I'm going to highlight all my number values, and I'm going to come up here to where it says decrease decimal, increase decimal. And I'm going to click on the increase decimal, and it's going to bring all of these to one decimal place. And that's perfect, that looks great, it doesn't have to be more than that. So now I'm ready to move on. So I come over here to my checklist, and let's see, I've done the IV on the left, DV on the right. I've done my column headings, which are the flight distance and the paperweight. I have done my units, and now I need to put a border around my cell, or around all the cells. So I'm going to, before I put my border around, I want to make sure I merge these cells that are on flight distance. So the flight distance covers all the trials, so I know that that's the DV value. So I'm going to highlight all those cells, and I'm going to come over here to merge cells, and that's going to make it into one nice big cell. So now I'm ready to put my border around, so I'm going to highlight all of the items that go into my spreadsheet, and I'm going to come over here to borders and shading, and I'm going to click on type. And when I click on type, I get a lot of different varieties of borders I can use, but we want to highlight every part of the cell. So I'm going to click on the one that looks like a window, and that's called all borders. If you click on that, it gives borders around every cell. And I also need to center this because that's what's going to make it look very nice and organized. So I'm going to go to Align Center, and everything is centered. So now I have my multiple trial spreadsheet done. I need to go to my checklist to make sure I have all the components. I just did the borders. I've already indicated decimal values. I've done proper application of formulas because I did the average. And now I need to make my summary spreadsheet. So I'm going to make a new spreadsheet. So this is going to be figure 2. I don't have to do a new EDD title because it's the same one. I'm just making my summary spreadsheet. So I'm going to put my IV on the left, DV on the right. So I'm going to type in paperweight and put my IV values there, light, medium, and heavy. And then I'm going to put my DV subheading, which is now the average of the flight distance. So I'm going to click on the cell, I'm going to put an average flight distance, and make sure you put your unit of measure in the subheading. Now you can see that this is spilling over to a new cell, and we're not going to merge the cell this time, we're going to wrap it into one nice big cell. So if I click on the cell that I typed in, I'm going to come over here in my toolbar and click on Wrap Text, and that's going to put it in a nice big box for me, so it's nice and easy to read. So now I'm going to bring down my average values, and this is a trick in Excel on how to do that. So I'm going to click on the open empty cell next to light. I'm going to hit the equal sign on my keyboard, and I'm going to come over here to the light average and click on it. And then I'm going to hit enter on my keyboard, and that's going to bring down that value for me. So again, I hit the equal sign, I came up here to the medium average, I click on it, and I hit enter. And I do the same for heavy. Equal, come over here, and hit enter. And that nicely brings it down for me. And make sure you spell things correctly. So now I need to make a border around it and center this. So I'm going to click on all my values in my summary spreadsheet. I'm going to center it, and I'm going to put a border around it, all borders. So now I have my ED title, I have my multiple trial spreadsheet, and I have my summary spreadsheet. And now, once we move on to graphing, I have my summary spreadsheet that is already completed, so I can use that to graph. And that's how you build a spreadsheet in Excel.